All right, guys, thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is Friday, and I'm always, as usual, always excited for a new week that we've been, for the week that we've ended. So I'm very grateful to God for the opportunity to be alive. I'm very grateful for the whole progress of the whole week. So it's really, for me, it's always a moment of joy and happiness and gratefulness to God, because He has been good for us for the whole week. We are also very grateful for reaching the week 8 of the course of the program. I'm so thankful to God, because contents like these, they don't come from here. They don't come from my brain. They don't come from from the books that I've read. They, some of them, they come from my experience and the things that I've studied and applied. But I would say that these contents, they are downloaded from, from a higher states of consciousness, from a field of information that is above me, that is not, that I can access, but that is beyond me and extended more than me. So I'm very grateful to God. I'm very grateful for the revelation. I'm very grateful for the insight, and I'm very grateful to you because you are blessed to hear this, and I'm blessed to give this, to be used by God to do what I do. So I'm very grateful, and and as we progress, this is week 8, and we have only 4 weeks to go to close the program. And I really believe that as we keep progressing, God is going to keep leading us. So yeah, thank you very much. Let's hit the road running with our course of today. So I hope you can see my screen. Let me minimize this and start right away. Now, so today's course, or the course of today is how to maximize crisis and change. How to maximize crisis and change. So it's the level, it's course which is in level 3, as we discussed earlier. So the level 3 is self-manifestation, which deals with manifesting the person you have developed. We have talked about level 1, which was self-discovery, which deals with discovering the person you are. We also talked about level 2, which was called self-development. So self-development, it deals with developing the person you have discovered. So after self-discovery, you have to go through a moment of self-development, where you develop your talent, you develop your gift, you develop your character, you develop really the person that you truly are. So in self-manifestation, it deals with, now, after developing that person, how do you manifest yourself? How do you show to the world what you have come to show to us? Or how do you deposit to the world, what God has deposited in you? So self-manifestation deals with, first of all, service. So in the past module, the past week, the course 7, we talked about service. We talked about, what is the importance of service, how service is implied in self-manifestation, how service comes into the picture in this scenario of self-manifestation. Then in self-manifestation also, we are going to talk about crisis. So you need service to manifest yourself, but you need crisis as well, and you need networking. So these are the 3 key things. These are the 3 keys of self-manifestation. So you can't manifest yourself without these things. It's very interesting because when people talk about self-manifestation, a lot of people think that they don't imagine a crisis in the picture. They don't understand how can crisis come in the picture? How can crisis come in the story of self-manifestation? Well, that's what the module of today is going to be demystifying. So the purpose of this course is to help you understand the concept of crisis and its role in building a fulfilled life. It's also to help you understand how does crisis and change relate, or what are the benefits of crisis? How can we benefit from crisis? And also, we are going to learn how you can leverage crisis so that you can achieve your maximum potential. How can you maximize crisis? I like this. I like this. The title of the course: How to Maximize Crisis and Change. That's a powerful type of title, because a lot of people think that when they reach in the period of crisis, it's their moment to die or to be, destroyed. Oftentimes, crisis is linked with problems. It's linked with bad things. It's linked with, things that are going to attack and contain and confine your life. But today, we are going to see that crisis is not really that bad. if I may say. So we are going to demystify together how can we leverage crisis? How can we, shift our perspective and understanding on crisis so that we can use it for our own good, instead of letting it attacking our lives and destroying us. So we are going to see that oftentimes people define crisis as something bad, which intends to to bring hardship into your life, or it is looked at as tempting times, or times of trouble, or times of trials. People always link crisis with all of those things. But this is where the misconception is. People think crisis will destroy you. Others think that crisis is a problem that is dropped into our life. Or some even say that when you go into crisis, you are about to be delayed by life, as if life is against you, or as if God is against you. But is this true? Is it really true? Is it true that there is nothing behind crisis? Because a lot of people, we tend our conception, or the way we understand the truth about crisis, it comes from our society beliefs, our communities where we've been grown. Most of the time, it's communities, it's just people we work with that treat crisis as a moment of or trouble, or they simply treat crisis as a moment of destruction. Something is about to destroy you. Something is about, to put you on your knees. But as you will see in this course, you're going to understand, we are going to shift our perspective on the concept of crisis and change. Now, so what is crisis? So crisis is a temporary situation that puts your character, attitude, and maturity at the test for growth, change, and improvement. This is what crisis is. This is what crisis is. It's a temporary situation. Crisis is temporary. It's temporary. It does not last for long. When you are going into a moment of crisis, everything on the earth has been given a time. So crisis is always temporary. It's here to test your character, your attitude, your maturity, but all of those not to destroy you, not to put you down, not to delay your success, but to help you grow, change, and improve. Now, as I was saying, there is time for everything, and the season for every activity under the heavens. So you are not going... Listen, when you talk about there is time for everything, it means there is time to be excited and a time to be low. There is a time to rejoice and there's a time to cry. There is a time to wake up and there's a time to sleep. There's a time to work and there is a time to rest. So that's what it means. When you talk about crisis being something temporary, a situation which is temporary, it means whatever you are going through right now, the hardship that you are going through right now, it's not going to last forever. We are passing through tempting times. With the COVID crisis, people who are sick, people who are dying, people who are losing their jobs, businesses that are being destroyed. But I'm here to tell you that everything that you're going through right now, it is temporary. It cannot last forever. Every pit of the hell that you are going through right now, that where you are situated right now, every crisis, financial crisis. I know many people are struggling financially. Maybe you are not, getting the life that you truly deserve. But I'm here to tell you that that crisis that you're going through in right now, it's not permanent. Everything is temporary. That's why they say there is a time for everything, not some things, but everything. It means everything you go through, it is a temporary situation, which means that actually, if you're going through bad times, it cannot last forever. You know why? It's because we live in time. Because we live in time, nothing can be permanent. What you are going through Tuesday is not going to be as what you are going to go through Thursday and Friday and Saturday. Nothing is going to be permanent in your life. So this is where the hope comes from. This is what gives us hope that tomorrow will be better. That's why even the Bible says that every day has its own trouble. So which means that really, what is going on here? It means every day you have a lesson that you have to learn, and that lesson cannot last forever. So how do you spot a crisis? A lot of people, when we are discussing this, you can ask yourself, really, how do I know that what I'm going through is a crisis? How do I know that? First of all, a crisis is a situation you did not cause. Sometimes, crisis, we don't cause crisis. Most of the time, if you lose your job and you did not contribute to it, then that's a crisis. If if someone steals something from you, if you get an accident, if you fall sick, all kinds of things, those things can happen, but we did not cause them. And again, it's a situation we did not anticipate. Maybe you did not anticipate that you're going to be in a financial crisis, or maybe you did not anticipate that you're going to fall sick, or maybe you did not anticipate that you're going to lose your job in 2021. So this is a situation you go through, but you did not anticipate. Again, it's a situation you cannot escape or stop. Sometimes we go through things in our life. I think this is where the depression behind crisis comes from. That's where a lot of people, if you get a divorce, you did not plan for it. It's just something, which came, but you can't stop it. You can't escape it because you can't gain control over it. The only thing you have to do is go through it with the right, mindset, as we will see in the coming slides. So basically, this is a situation that you don't have control over, that you did not contribute to it. And sometimes you can't even stop it or escape it. So it's something that you have to go through no matter what you do. You cannot escape it. As a matter of fact, if you try to escape crisis, that's a very bad trap. You don't want to escape crisis because crisis has a purpose. Do you remember that in the beginning we said that a crisis is a temporary situation which has a purpose to improve you, to grow you, to change you, to move you from point A to point B so that you can be better, so that you can be refined. In fact, the purpose of crisis is a situation which has a purpose to refine you. So that's why you have to go through crisis with a type of mindset that is going to help you to go through it successfully so that you can learn the right lessons that you are supposed to learn in that specific situation. So what is the purpose of crisis? So the purpose of crisis is to reveal the multiple facets of life. It's amazing how when people go through crisis, they discover something new. I've seen in many scenarios, some people, you're about to lose your business, you're about to lose a client, you're about to lose everything that you've worked for. And then now, through that crisis, you start thinking differently. I remember, when I graduated from university, I was trying to start a business and I couldn't find, it was really bad. I wasn't, making any money. I was growing up. I was truly depressed. I was like, not deep, I was almost depressed. I was in a very bad crisis. They call it midlife crisis. I was, hitting 25, had no money, had, still living with my parents. I was really at the lowest point of my life. I remember one of my friends called Roger. He called me on the day of my birthday. He says, "Brother Willie, I know you are not doing well these times." He sent me something on mobile money, and then he said, "Oh my God, brother, go and buy yourself something to drink." So I was in the lowest point of my life. I was trying to start a business, but it was not working. I was in a lower level of my life. Then one day I said, you know what? I have to start making money. How can I start making money? So I started going deeper in my skills. I started analyzing the trainings that I've gone through, all the things that I've tried to, to work on in my life, all the trainings, all that experience. So I started really digging up, because I was like, I have to make money. This is the age, I'm 25. I have to start making money because I need to, to start growing my life and so forth. So I said, you know what? I have to start right now. I have to make money now. Then one day I was, sitting on YouTube. I was watching a YouTube video. Then I saw, is someone I know who was, working on the contents, one of my clients right now. He was, publishing contents. I really, I was following him, but I did not, in the previous days, I did not pay attention to his contents. And then when I was analyzing the contents, the way he was doing the contents, the way he was, the way he was doing the presentation, the way the contents in the video were arranged, I was like, you know what, there is a problem here. I started enumerating the problems that I saw in the contents, the challenges that he was facing. I started enumerating them. So then I called him. I said, you know what, I've been watching your content on YouTube, and I have more than 5 experience in digital content. How can I help you? How can I help you? I think I can help you. I think I can help you develop your content in a way that you can convey them, so that people can enjoy it, so that people can find structure in it. I think I can, I can do something. So he said, oh, that's very interesting. What do you think? So I proposed them. I did the concept note of the contents. I submitted the concept of the contents. Then the next discussion was, how much do we pay you so that you can implement this? So we did the contract, we signed the contract, and that's how I started off. So what I want to tell you is that the purpose of crisis, that crisis, that midlife crisis I was going through, in that specific period of time in my life, it was not, if I could have treated that crisis as something which is coming to destroy me, or something, or I'll say, you know what, oh, this is what have been happening. Even other youth don't have, don't have jobs, my family, blah, blah, blah. If I could have started bringing those types of excuses, I could have never reached the point where I am today. That's why I'm saying that the purpose of that crisis, I discovered that it was not to destroy me, but to show me another facet of my life. That's how I started my officially being paid. I was doing consulting, but that's how I started off with my, business consulting services, and that's how I started with, developing content. That's how, the experience that I brought from that client, that's the experience I'm using right now, to launch these programs and other initiatives that are going to come in the, in coming years. So I'm trying to tell you that crisis helped me to, it shed light on that facet of life that I did not know. So it exposed my potential and strength. I discovered stuff about me that I did not know that I have. It's amazing how when you treat crisis in the right way, it does not push you, it does not pull you down, it pushes you forward. So when you treat crisis in the right way, crisis is not going to destroy you, it's going to push you forward. So it showed me that there are new possibilities instead of failure. So which means that when you treat crisis, when you understand that the purpose of crisis is not to destroy you, but to push you forward, you start treating it in a way that you understand that it is not failure. So in life, we face many failures. That's why when you face a crisis, you have to make sure that it does not leave, because a lot of people go through crisis and, they stay with, they stay with, that crisis leaves, some hurt in their lives. So that's why when you go, even when you go through crisis, you have to know how to process it so that it does not leave anything that can destroy your life in the way. So that's why so do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. So that's why you have to understand that really crisis is just a trouble for that specific day. It's not there to destroy you. Now, when you go through crisis, most of the time crisis brings failures. That's why even though you go through that crisis, you have to understand that the hurt that crisis has brought in your life, you have to understand that before you move on, after going through crisis, you have to understand that that failure, that crisis it brings in your life, you have to process it. So how do you process crisis, or how do you process a failure that was brought by crisis? So number one, you have to accept that you have failed. You have to accept that you have failed. You have to accept that you have gone through the moments of your life that has lowered you back, that has pulled you down. Now, the next thing is to forgive yourself. Most of the people, when they go through crisis and they fail, when people fail at something, it's something that that always happens. One of the moments of failure that I've gone through in my life, and I've struggled with it. It's because I realized later that I did not necessarily forgive myself. That moment when you say like, oh, you know what, Willie, it's fine. You've messed up here, then let's move on. You've made a mistake, let's move on. That was not good. That was not good. Now how do we improve from there? That's why it brought me to the third step, which says assess why you failed. When you assess why you failed, this is where you draw the lessons. When you draw the lessons from, when you assess why you failed, you can really know where you have messed up, so that the next time you're not going to repeat the same mistakes. Because people, when you analyze through life, you will realize that people commit the same mistakes. That's why it's very important to assess why you fail. Now, the next step is to name your failure. Naming your failure means to decide what is that failure. So let me give you an example. To name a failure, it means to say, this situation that I've gone through, it's going to stop me, it's going to improve me, or it's going to stop me, improve me, or stop or sustain me. So which means that when you name a failure, naming a failure is very important, because what a failure does to you, it's what you allow it to do to you. So which means that when you lose a job, you can decide, you say, you know what, I've lost my job. But losing this job is not a detour. It's not something, it's not an obstacle on my way to success. Now I'm going to start thinking, how can I, either find another job or start your own business, or start your own, find something you can do, or try to go deeper into the skills and go into the market when you have rebranded yourself with new skills that you did not know how to sell. So naming a failure is very, very important. When you lose someone, there is different ways of dealing with, failure. when let's say you fall sick. Sometimes, when you fall sick, most of the time, you spend time alone in your bed, most of the time not feeling good. You can say, okay, right now, this is the time I'm alone, I'm laying down in my bed. This is the best time to analyze my life, to think about myself. Because most of the time we realize that those types of crisis which pushes you down, and then it puts you in a standstill status. Most of the time it's God trying to cool you down, so that you can finally that you start thinking about yourself. You start analyzing what is going on with my life. You start thinking about, I know people who have turned from their bad ways, from sickness. I know people who got saved from their hospital bed, because in that time when they were lying on their hospital bed, that's when they started, kind of analyzing their lives and saying, you know what, I think I really messed up here. I think this crisis is here to help me think. That's how people, they start reuniting with their friends. They start reuniting with their family. It's time to say, I'm sorry to the kids, all of those things. So you will realize that sometimes when someone is going through crisis, people tend to feel sorry for that person. But most of the time, it's a turning point. Let me tell you something. You are not going to discover yourself. You're not going to know who you are if you do not go through crisis. Because one of the purposes, as we said, one of the purpose of crisis is to reveal to you your original potential, your true strength. So most of the time, the way you name your failure, because crisis is linked to failure, most of the time crisis brings failure in our lives. That's why you have to know how to process it efficiently. So as I was saying, you have to enumerate the lessons. What did I learn from this failure? So that you do not repeat them. Because let me tell you something. If you do not learn a lesson, that lesson is going to come back still. It's going to come back. Let me give you an example. If you don't learn, let me give you a hypothetical example. Let's say you have spent all the money that you've earned this month, and at the end of the month, you find that you have nothing left in your bank account. Then you are like, oh, you know what? Oh, you start, you go out, you start, getting debts and so forth. But that specific month, you did not learn the lesson. You did not sit and analyze, how am I reaching the end of the month without anything? How did I consume all the money? I'm telling you, the next month, you're going to still to spend the whole of that money. So that's why it's very important when you go through a failure, do not, this is very important. Do not lose your failures. Wow. Do not lose your failures. Actually, one of the assets that your life has is your failure. Let me give you an example. Do you know why companies hire people who have experience? An experienced person is a person who have committed a lot of mistakes. It's very funny. So when someone is asking you, what is your experience? He's asking you really, what are the number of mistakes that you've made? People trust people who have made mistakes. Oh, my God, my God, my God. Listen. Have you realized that when people, let me give you an example. When someone is preaching and then he starts talking about, the mistakes he has made, the struggles he went through life, it creates a trust. People trust him because they say, you know what, he's just a person like me. He has made mistake. He has experience. He knows what he's talking about because he went through that time of being tested and he monetized those failures. He leveraged. I want to tell you that you do not have to allow failure. Don't waste your failure, but don't waste it in a way that you don't allow it to stop you, but make it a stepping stone instead of allowing it to stop you. So that's why it's very important. These lessons, let me tell you something. The lessons that I teach you in this program, these are a collection of my experience. So I did not lose, all of the mistakes that I've made. I transformed them into lessons. and people are going to buy those lessons. So basically, what we are trying to do here is to make sure that you don't miss these assets, you don't waste these assets. So it's very important that you leverage them, that you use them wisely, because they're assets that are brought into your life. Now, the next step is to try again or take another route. This is very important. When you pass through failure, you have to know what is the way forward. Now that I've accepted the failure, I forgave myself and everyone who was involved. Forgiveness is very key. Forgiveness is very key. You can't. By the way, if you don't process failure efficiently, if you don't process failure efficiently, then it's going to cause you. That's why some people live with fear of failing, because they did not process that fear and make it and heal from it. If you have done something that has disappointed you, if someone has disappointed you, either in business, in relationship, in your life, at your work, in your professional life, if you don't deal with that failure, if you don't deal with that thing it will keep haunting you. It will keep haunting you. That's why it's very important to deal with your issues. That's why it's very important to make sure that you deal with all of that so that you can emerge successfully. So the key to crisis really is attitude. So when you pass through crisis with the right attitude, that's when you can thrive in it. Because if you fail to have a good, if your attitude is bad in crisis, that crisis is going to destroy you. That's why we are learning how to process failure. Processing failure is an attitude of, it's an attitude of saying, if I'm going through this, how can I manage it? How can I leverage it so that it can turn into a lesson. It can turn into something which pushes me forward instead of being delayed. Now, so what is attitude? So attitude means your behavior pattern. It's how you react. It's how you think. So attitude is basically the pattern of your soul, or the pattern of your mindset, the pattern of your reaction. How do you react? So attitude is very key, because the way you behave, the way you think, and the way you react in a problem, it's going to determine what that problem does to you. The way you behave, the way you think, and the way you react. Let me give you an example. Sometimes you can take two people. Two people can fail an exam. Two people can fail an exam, the same exam. And then when you talk to one person, he's going to be like, oh man, let me tell you something. This exam, I knew I was going to fail this exam. In fact, I don't like the teacher. I don't like my classmate. I don't like this course. This course is not something that I have to take to ever consider again in my life. And another person will tell you, you know what? I think I've not been disciplined enough. I think the teacher, I did not understand. I did not apply the advice of the teacher. I think I did not get the right support. I did not ask for support for my colleagues so that they can, help me explain to me what I did not understand so that I can pass. Two people, let me give you another example. Two people can graduate in university without jobs. One person can say, there are no jobs out there for graduates anyway. I'm going to sit and wait for a phone call of someone who is going to come and pick me up. Another one can say, you know what, I have graduated from university. What are the skills that I have that can address the problems? Those are two people with the same problem, in the same situation, at the same level, but with complete different attitude. That's why attitude is very important. Someone can be fired at his job. Two people can be fired at their jobs. One can say, you know what, I knew that my boss was going to fire me. He does not like me. He wants me to overwork. He does not respect me. I was expecting this anyway. Another person can say, you know what, thank God I'm fired. Now I'm going to get time to work on myself. I'm going to improve myself so that when we meet again, when I meet my boss again, I'll meet him or her when I've improved, when I can solve bigger problems, especially in this COVID time. Some companies, they reduce the number of employees. So that means that they have cut they have cut down people who were not, who are not solving the bigger problems. So this means that it's a problem of skills. Two people fired in the same situation. One will say, the boss has always wanted to fire me. Another one will say, oh, you know what? I think I'm not skilled enough. I'm not solving a bigger problem. How can I go and improve myself so that the next time I come, the next opportunity come, will find me skilled and competent? So that's what attitude is. That's what attitude means. So it's just like in sport, in football, when they punch someone in the golf course or in the box, in the box, in a boxing game, one person can say, oh, he's stronger than me. Another person can say, oh, that's a good strategy. He's not going to hit me again. Now I know that. So it's different attitude. So what makes some people win in their lives and others, fail in life or fail to realize their full potential is how they treat with difficulties. A lot of people think that, wealthy people, successful people, accomplished people, they did not face challenges. No, they face the same challenges as the regular people. But the difference between an accomplished, successful people, millionaire, billionaire, or however you define success, what differentiates those two people is how they treat what happens to them. Very important, how they treat what happens to them. Because the way you treat what happens to you is exactly what that thing is going to do to you. Let's say in marriage, some people say, oh, this is a happy couple. This is a happy couple. They don't face it. They look happy and, they are successful in their marriages, but poor is our couple. We are always, we face challenges. We don't have enough money, or we are always fighting. No, either my partner, me, or, my husband or my wife, we can't communicate. None of us know how to communicate efficiently. Or sometimes you are blaming your partner in marriage, things like that. But the truth is, all those two couples, they are facing the same thing. But one couple has the right attitude. One couple goes in marriage saying, this is a tough job that we are being hired to do. So let's treat it as it is. It's a tough job. Now, how can we adjust to it, to the challenges, so that we can emerge successfully and fulfilled? Another couple will say, oh, you are supposed to take care of me, or you are supposed to feel my emptiness, or you are supposed to take care of me. They fail to get the right attitude on marriage. The reason why marriages fail, it's not because people do not love each other or are not willing to build their marriages, or because of other reasons people think. The reason why marriages fail is because people go in marriage with the wrong attitude. Isn't that interestingly surprising? Just attitude. That's why it's very important, because your attitude is your behavior. Your attitude is your thinking. Your attitude is your reaction. The way you react, the way you think, the way you behave. That's what attitude means. And the better it is, the better the experience. If it's worse, then you get the worst result ever. It's like attitude, it shapes the results that your life experience, the result that you experience in your life. Now, that's why, Jesus told his students, he told them, the kingdom of heaven, he said, the kingdom of heaven is going to be inherited by those who are like kids. Do you know what to be like kids means? To be like a child, it simply means that you have an attitude of a child. He wasn't talking about becoming like, he wasn't talking about becoming like he wasn't talking about becoming like a child, or just going into your mother's womb again. He was really talking about the fact that you have to have an attitude of a child. That's how you have to go through life with. That's how you were supposed to experience the kingdom of heaven. But what he was implying is, if you're going to be happy in life, if you're going to be successful and fulfilled and free, you have to have an attitude of a child. You have to have an attitude of a child, because if you don't have an attitude of a child, everything is going to be complicated to you. Have you realized how kids react when things are not going on? They just don't care. They're just around, they play around. If, they don't know if, there is food, no food, job, no job, nothing. Just living life, just enjoying the moment. They don't sit around and worry, what am I going to eat the next month or the next year, or how much have I saved? So that attitude, kids are teachable. That's why in Kinyarwanda they say, it's simply because, kids have attitudes that are teachable. That's why he told them, you have to be like kids. Being like children is an attitude. It's not going in your mother's womb or whatever. Very important. Very, very, very important. A lot of people fail not because there were no chance, but because they have a wrong attitude. One person said, your attitude is going to determine your altitude, which means that your attitude is going to determine how far you go or how high you fly in life. How high you fly. So when something happens to you, before you react to it, you have to pause and say, this person is doing this thing to me. How do I interpret this? By the way, attitude is also how you interpret what happens to you. Very important. How you interpret what happens to you. How you interpret the definition you give it. Man, these things are very, very important. I don't know how to stress this. The interpretation you give your problems, the interpretation you give what happens to you. I told you, one person can be fired. Two people can be fired. One person can say, the boss hates me. Another one can say, it's time to go get a master's. It's time to go get that certification. It's time to level up. It's one problem to two people, two different results. Imagine if those two people meet. After 2, 3, 4, 5 years. No one is going to recognize another. One will say, what? Are you still there? Another person will say, how did you get there? What is the difference between those people, those two people? One thing, attitude. Very important. Very important. A lot of people, sometimes when a crisis comes, God wants to improve you. And because you have a bad attitude, you treat it in a bad way. Sometimes you ask God for something, he delays a little bit. When he delays a little bit, you get a wrong attitude, you make wrong choices. It brings bad things in your life. It brings, things in your life that are going to, to bring other issues. So you have to make sure that no matter what you are going through in your life, you keep a good attitude. Because when you have a good attitude, you're going to make the right decisions. Very important. Can you imagine? Okay, it's like saying, I give you a car which can go 250 kilometers per hour. Then I create a situation where you are going to be stuck in traffic. But, I give you a car which can go 350 kilometers per hour. but you don't know that. You just know that it's a car, it runs, but you don't know that that car can go that fast. Then one day I create a situation where you are going to be late at work. I create a jam in the road so that you're going to be almost late, just like 10 minutes almost late. Maybe your job starts at 8, you'll be delayed, you are just at 7:50. Then at 7:50 sharp, the jam, it disappears. Then when the jam, it disappears because you are rushing, you want to be at your work at time, then you accelerate. When you accelerate, you find that a car goes, whoa, 300, 200, 250, 300, and you are like, what? I did not know that my car can run this fast. That's how God sends crisis in our lives, so that you can. Let me give you a clue. Let me give you a clue. Let me give you a tip. One of the things that will tell you that that you have used your crisis efficiently, it's because at the end of that crisis, you will say, oh, I did not know. You are like, kumbe. You are like, man, this is amazing. I did not know that. That's how your crisis should end. Your crisis should end with you being surprised of something amazing that you have discovered about yourself. Now, what are the benefits of crisis? Going quickly. So number one, the benefits of crisis is mental growth. You are going to grow mentally. You're going to grow emotionally. You're going to be self-aware. I was talking about it. You are going to develop situational leadership. Do you know what situational leadership is? So situational leadership is simply the ability, when you go into crisis is going to create situations in your life where you have to lead no matter what. Let's say you are a nurse. You are in the middle of the market, and the mother, someone gets hurt, an accident. When it is in that situation, maybe you have just graduated in nursing, any medical field, but you did not practice anything like that, any operation, any surgery. Then someone gets hurt, an accident is there on the market, you have to operate that person no matter what. There is no hospital around, there's no any other medical personnel, you have to do it. That's what I call situational leadership. That's what crisis does. Sometimes, the boss leaves the meeting, you are the one who has to take over. Or you find yourself in your family, you are the one who have to take care of everybody. Because of a crisis. Maybe, a guardian has passed away, or maybe someone in your family loses a job. You are supposed to take care of everything. So that's the benefits of crisis. It births something in you, the responsibility. You found yourself, in a ceremony, you are supposed to lead it. That's the benefits of crisis. It's a crisis. The MC did not show up. I'm the one who have to lead the ceremony. All of that's situational leadership. Situational leadership is an instant responsibility that pops up in your life that you have to respond to no matter what. Revelation of your potential, we talked about this. So what is the relationship between change and crisis? What is the relationship between change and crisis? Because we're talking about how to maximize change and crisis. So nothing is permanent except change. Change and crisis is unbreakable. If you realize very well, crisis is triggered by change. And change is what follows crisis. When you are going through crisis, it means something have changed. They have changed the number of people they used to hire, or they have changed the technology that they used to use in your workplace. That's a change. Then that change is going to bring a crisis, and that crisis is going to bring another change. So crisis brings change that ushers you into new changes. Every phase of your life requires a different you. That's why change is built in your life. You can't fight change. If you fight change, it's going to break you. Can you imagine if you try to fight Corona? Corona is a crisis that has been brought into our lives. But we did not know that it is going to come. And we can't fight it because it's a change. You are going to wear a mask no matter what. You can't fight that. You're going to social distance no matter what. Excuse me. You can't change that. It's just a situation you have to cope with, or it has to break you. If you break the rules of Corona, the rules are going to break you. This is a mindset. This is a mindset which is, this is approaching life from a higher perspective, guys. That's why these courses, that's why these courses are attended by few people. These are the keys of life. These are the keys of life. That's why people live, they are living, that's why people are living in the same world, but they live different lives. You live with someone and then you say, like, do you live here? Are you from Earth? It's because they understand some things. They live in a different way. Let me ask you something. How can you know this thing and your life is going to be like other people's lives? No. You are just a completely different person. When others are fighting change, you are when other people are fighting change, you are using it. That's why I said change is the root, and change is the root cause and ultimate result of crisis. Change causes crisis and there is a result of it. There is always change before and after crisis. That's what I was saying. So the key to change is adaptability. We said earlier that the key to crisis is understanding that you are not going to be destroyed by that crisis, is the attitude. Then the key to change is adaptability. You have to, when changes happens in your life, don't fight change. If you lose a friend, don't fight that. If you lose your job, if someone steals you, if someone disappoints you, if someone backstabs you, don't fight that change. If you lose money, if you lose someone, don't fight that change. Just adapt. Just adapt. Because when you fight change, it's going to break you. So what is adaptability? Adaptability means to embrace. I like the way these, in these countries where they have funny weathers, like they have these, big oceans, and there's always storms and tides and rain and, and snow. Have you realized that when winter comes, they don't fight winter. They adjust to winter. They adapt to winter. They change the tires of their vehicle. They turn on. They heat their houses. And the funny thing, you know what? They even they adapt their sports to their environment. That's why they have ski. The game of skiing is it's a game that you play in snow. It's amazing. So they sat and said, you know what? We have a crazy weather here. Let's invent something. We have an ocean. Instead of fighting oceans and fighting tides, they invented a game of surfing. Do you know how much surfers make? Millions. Do you know how the industry of skiing is big? Billions. That's why they play hockey. Hockey is a game of snow. They play it in snow. So they adapted. They adapted. When you see the city of Dubai, I've been doing research on Dubai. They said, what, this is a desert, but we are around water. We have water around. But, a desert and water, it was very hard for them. So they said, okay, right, let's try to take the sand, put it over water and build houses on that sand. They said, we can't have, this is a small city, we can't have, industries here, we can't have factories here. Let us leverage on tourism. We have in Dubai, it's always summer. They said, let us embrace our climate. Can you imagine what can happen in your life if you can embrace your change, if you can embrace your uniqueness, if you can embrace, everything, every change that comes? Because when you fight change, you are wasting your time. You are clearly wasting your time. That's why you have to own it. That's why you have to take in charge and you have to manage it. Because remember, we say that every day brings its own trouble. So every day brings its own change. Don't try to fight change. Adapt to it. Use it for your own good. Now, change is not God delaying you. It's God helping you to grow stronger shoulders to carry heavy blessings. Very important. So God is not here trying to delay you. God is not here trying to pull you down or making sure that you don't succeed. He's here to support you. He's here to support you. Life is here to support you. You are not brought in the world to fail. Everything that happens to you intends to help you discover your strength, your potential, the capacities that are stored in you, and the possibilities that life has to offer. That's why Indians, when they reach, I talked about that in the study guide. It is said that in the Chinese vocabulary, they don't have a word for problems. The word we call problem in the English language, in Chinese, that same word is translated back in English as opportunities. So when a Chinese sees something, when Chinese saw 1 billion, over 1 billion population, so they said, you know what, this is not a bad thing. Let us bring factories in China. Let us provide infrastructure. Let us build the biggest e-commerce, platforms, the biggest social platform in the world. They said, you know what, we can also leverage on tourism. That's what actually Rwanda is doing. They're leveraging on the nature of Rwanda. We don't have a lot of natural resources, but we are not doing it as we should. Sometimes I usually tell people that, we have also to do research to understand how can we build buildings that are adaptable to our environment, because that's something which has it has popped up. We did not choose it, just something which happened. It may be treated as a crisis or it may be treated as an opportunity. There was a change. Before your life changes, before you experience breakthrough, you have to go through changes. Because sometimes we fight striving to be in our comfort zones. But really, there is nothing that grows in comfort zones. No, nothing grows, nothing is birthed out of the comfort zone. Everything needs to be shaken. Everything goes through changes. You know, for a seed to move from a seed to be a fruit, it goes through a lot of changes. It survives a lot of crises, storms, rains, people who wants to cut it, everything, every possible thing that you can imagine. You know, the other day I was telling people that if we are experiencing volcano eruption, why can't we mine that energy and turn it into an energy which is renewable, which we can use as electricity in our factories, in our homes, in our, you know, we can even sell it. Why can't we even sell it? After the volcano eruption, we can make it a touristic place or site instead of fighting it or instead of fleeing it. That's a different way of thinking. That's a different way of approaching things and approaching situations in our lives. So when we pray for revelation to see possibilities at hand, not to escape change. This is very important. When you are praying, you don't pray for you to escape change, or you don't pray for God to push changes away. You pray for the revelation to understand what is the possibility behind this. What is possible with this crisis? You know, when Corona hit, some people, you know, they say, you know what? I used to sell soap, no, you know, the normal soap, just, just the normal soaps that we know. You know, some people said, you know what? I'm going to shift from soaps to sanitizers. Other people said, you know what? I did not, I used to cook, I used to just, supply weddings, reception, just food. You know, they say, you know what? Instead of supplying bulk, let's supply just single ones. They started their restaurants at their homes, and then they deliver in homes. You know, other people said, you know what? I used to give some short courses to my students. Now I'm going to start a live class online. Then they can access it, and then they pay, and then they can, access the courses. A different way of approaching it. Some people used to meet their clients one-on-one. And then when Corona hit, they say, you know what? I think I can meet them online. Then I can meet many people at the same time and, without moving, just sitting in front of my computer. Without COVID-19, I could, TAP could not, maybe have never existed, because at that time, we could not see the possibilities of using the internet, or the possibilities of, what is possible with this thing, with Zoom and online courses. But I'm recording this, I can resell it to other people. So that's how you react. That's the mindset of living in changes and going through this crisis and dealing with uncertainties. That's how you deal with it. You need revelation, not escape. That's what you need. So I hope that this course has helped you understand that the crisis that you are going through in your life, it is not there to destroy you. It is there to improve you. It is there to grow you. It is there to reveal to you something special about your life that you did not thought it was there, that you did not thought that it was buried inside of you. It's like crisis is going to squeeze the best out of you. To drink a juice of something, of a given fruit, you have to squeeze it. When you squeeze a fruit, that's a crisis to the fruit. But the juice that comes from it, oh my God, it's enjoyable. So I hope you've enjoyed today's course. And I believe that if you have any question, you can just let me know. We can have a discussion, and I'll be ready to see you in the next week. And by the way, we're approaching the end of the program. 4 weeks to go. We are going to be having, we have weeks to do some recapitulation in the courses, and we are going also to have a graduation, which is why I also encourage you guys to make sure that if you're going to listen to this recording, to make sure that you go in your assignments, you answer all the assessments, so that we can have the data to put on your certificates, because your certificates are going to be in different grades. So also to go back in the study guides if you find time, and also go through them so that this content can be part of you and it can sink truly in your soul. So thank you very much. God bless you. All right. Oh, I can see Enoch and Rudasingwa. How are you guys?
How are you doing?
I'm very good. How are you?
Fine.
Oh, even no ntaguri mu modoka.
Ndi hanze none.
Uri hanze? Okay, great.
Ndi hanze najya hari noza hari good connection.
Okay, great. Enoch bite.
Okay, nawe nabonye afite connection yiwe yamugoye byatari.
Okay. So Eve, how are you doing?
I'm fine.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was thinking, can this crisis be linked with depression?
Yes.
How can you link crisis with depression?
With depression, yeah, that's why actually I don't know if you followed, there is a slide I talked about failure. So failure, the reason why crisis is linked with depression is because crisis most of the time is an failures, haba hari ikintu cya failinze kugira ngo crisis ibeho. Maybe it's a business that has failed. Maybe it's you failed failed an exam, cyangwa se you've been disappointed by someone. So depression is the wananiwe gucontaininga wananiwe kwakira ya failure wagize. So unaniwe rero kwakira ya failure wagize, the emotions are going to flood your soul like crazy. So ugatangira. So depression ubundi izanwa nyine most of the time it's because you've gone into the victim mindset most of the time. So you have understood that you have failed, but again, izane noneho victim. Maybe ugatangira kuvuga I know I've not been good with these things. I've never been good in business. I've never been good in relationships. Why me? You see, why me? Kubera iki njyewe, kubera iki abandi bicamo, kubera iki njyewe bidakunda, ni iyihe mpamvu? Ibyo bintu byose bikajya muri subconscious mind, then it starts topping up. When it starts topping up, it's going to go outside. So depression actually is a result. Yeah, it's a result.
In a result of your crisis.
Yeah, okay. Not a result of a crisis. Depression is a result of unprocessed failure.
Okay.
Yes. When a failure is not processed, you are going to be depressed. Impamvu abantu bari guhura n'ikibazo cya depression muri iyi minsi ni ukubera ko they go through crisis n'ama failure, bagafailinga at different things in their lives. Most of the time wenda ni business n'ama relationship, cyangwa se n'abantu bafailinze mu bintu bitandukanye mu buzima bwabo. Noneho ntibagire umwanya wo kwicara ngo bavuge ngo what iyi failure. Okay, I've understand that. First of all, you have to understand that ngomba kubanza kwemera first of all yuko I'm being hurt. I'm hurt. Someone has broken my heart. Cyangwa se a situation has broken my heart. That's the first step. Then the second step ukajya kuri forgiveness. You forgive yourself and you forgive that person.
Wow.
Then after that, Yes. Then after that, let me share with you the screen we read. Yes. Then I think, hey man, I think I'm going to do a course on healing, man. I've been hesitating to do that. You see this slide? Oh my God.
Yes.
Yes. So
accept that you have
failed, forgive yourself, assess why you failed. Noneho usubira inyuma wibaze ngo ni iyihe mpamvu noneho yatumye failing, cyangwa se ni iki kintu cyateye iki kintu. Eske ni ngewe utarabaye careful? Eske nuriya muntu utari ufite character? Byagenze gute? Ni ikihe kintu cyatumye habaho donc why did I fail? Cyangwa se why was I disappointed? Ni relationship wagiye mira failinga, ni business watangira failing, ni iyihe mpamvu yabiteye? Noneho step ya kane nuguha izina iyo failure.
Yes.
Guha izina rero failure noneho nukugena icyo failure iri bugukore.
Let me screenshot this.
Man, no, say, I think Lero, Urauna, Eve,
yes.
I've been hesitating to do a course on healing. Dafuga, you know what? I was like, what? Niyo mpamvu ubona nakoze kano slide kuri failure. But I think I'm going to do a course on the purpose of healing and forgiveness on the journey of self manifestation, because I think people are struggling with these things seriously.
You should do it.
Wow. Okay, no problem. We are remaining. Actually, I was planning you call to be in another way, but I think I'm going to think about that.
Because when I joined, mukanya joining, wanza nagize kuri ino slide. Wanza natangiye kuri ino slide cyangwa imbere yaho gatoya.
Oh my God.
No, mvuga urimo kuvuga ma. Urumva naje I am healing.
Wow.
I am healing.
Wow, man.
Like from the last month. Is this guy reading my mind?
Wow. Yeah, this is wow. Man. Wow. So this is what you do, bro. So on the fourth, you have to decide. You have to name that failure. Ukamenya ngo iyi failure yabaye noneho irankora iki? Eske irampagarika, iratuma ndayigira stepping stone nyikoresha noneho itume negera imbere kurushaho, so to succeed more, cyangwa se irasustaininga depression yanjye. Yeah, you have to decide this. You have to decide that is this crisis going? Is this failure? Changa said depression. Is this failure going to stop me, to sustain my depression, or is going to push me forward? Now,
yes.
The next thing is to enumerate the lessons. You have to number the lessons that you have learned. You have to enumerate them. Ukazishyira ku murongo ukavuga this failure yanyigishije 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things. These are the things I've learned from this failure.
Yes.
Then the sixth step, which is the last one but not least, you have to move on when you are ready. You have to try again. Changa say you have to take another route when you are ready. Yes. So when you are ready, that's when you say, you know what, I'm ready, I can move on. I'm ready, I can love again. I'm ready, I can start a new business after failing this one. I'm ready, I can try again. I'm ready, I can give this thing a second chance.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is how you process failure. So depression, that's what it does. So depression is unprocessed failure.
Unprocessed failure. Nayisobanukiwe.
Yeah. Nicyo ngicyo. Ni ukuvuga ngo abantu iyo bagiye muri crisis ntibayiprocesinge ngo bajye muri that mental, kuko urumva in the process yo acceptinga kubyemera kwibabarira wowe ubwawe ukavuga ngo you know what if nimba ari wowe byaturutse ukavuga uyu muntu naramuhemukiye there is no other, I can't dodge this, naramuhemukiye, it's a mistake, I'm going to improve, I forgive myself, I've messed up.
Yes.
Cyangwa ukagera kuri stage ukavuga ngo you know what, this person has messed up with me, this person he has backstabbed me, he has disappointed me, I'm going to forgive this person. Because forgiveness is a decision. It's hard, but it's a decision. It's a decision. Then when you forgive that person, you can say, okay, I've forgiven this person. Now, let me move to the next stage.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how, so you go back and read it. But I think I'm going to do a course on healing. If God gives me information, I'm going to do a course on healing. Kuko, I've been seeing a lot of depression related posts kuma social media nature. I think people need to hear this, and people need to learn how to process their failures. No, then they can go into we go all into